Today we are making snack-sized Indonesian-style meatballs with peanut sauce. The peanut sauce is going to be different than the one that we served with the gado-gado. I'll put that recipe up here. This is way more like a peanut sauce that is served with a chicken or pork satay. These meatballs make for a great course in a rijsttafel, but they can also be passed around at a cocktail hour or served as a snack at a picnic because they can be eaten at room temperature. Hi, I'm Toine, welcome to my kitchen. If you're new to this channel, I focus on cooking foods from my home country, the Netherlands, and some of its former colonies such as Indonesia. Today, we are making Indonesian meatballs served with a peanut sauce. They are small meatballs, snack size. We either serve them as an appetizer or as a snack, and the peanut sauce that comes with it is one that is also typically served when you order a satay. To make peanut sauce, you will need 1 can of regular coconut milk. Don't get the light variety. We're using a 13.5 ounce can. 300 grams of all natural, no added salt and sugar peanut butter. Some ketjap manis. 2 teaspoons of brown sugar. 2 teaspoons of tamarind paste. We can buy it at our regular grocery store. If you can't find it there, you'll be able to find it at an Asian grocery store. Some salt. 2 cloves of garlic. 1 teaspoon of sambal ulek. And some freshly squeezed lemon juice. I've peeled the 2 cloves of garlic and now I have to dice it very finely. So give it a smash with your knife and now just chop it until it is in small little pieces. If you have a garlic press, you can use that as well. The garlic is minced very finely. That is kind of the only prep we have to do, and now we start to cook the peanut sauce. First thing we're going to do is fry up the sambal and the garlic. And instead of using oil, I'm going to do the same thing I did when I made the peanut sauce for the gado-gado. And that is use a 1.5 tablespoons of the thick part of the coconut milk as the oil. So over medium-high heat, we're going to melt that thicker part of the coconut milk. Most of the bubbling has stopped, so we're going to add the garlic and the sambal and fry that up in here, stirring it continuously. All you want to do is just release those flavors and those aromas. You can really smell the garlic now. Of course, the sambal also adds some pungent flavors or some pungent smells in the air. And once you are done kind of just making the garlic glassy, we can add the peanut butter to it. I don't have all the peanut butter in here yet, but I want to kind of stir it around so that the garlic stops frying up, because you don't want to burn the garlic. That turns it bitter. Stir it around, mix the garlic and sambal all through the peanut butter, and then we will add the coconut milk. Once you see that the peanut butter is starting to bubble, it's time to add the coconut milk. I've stirred it around a little bit so that we don't have only those thick pieces. And I'm going to add a little bit at a time, stir it. You want it to be a thick sauce, but not so thick that you can't pour it. So as you can see right now, it's probably still going to be too thick once I stir this all through. That means we'll add some more of the coconut milk. So this is definitely too thick. So I'm actually just going to add the rest of the can. If it is still too thick, you can add water or some chicken stock or some more coconut milk, whatever you have on hand. But I think this is going to be good. I'm going to add the tamarind paste, brown sugar, some salt. Don't add too much because you want to taste it and then adjust if necessary. So I just added a generous pinch. I'm going to add approximately a tablespoon of ketjap manis to the sauce, stir it through, then we're going to taste it and adjust the seasoning. I think I have it all stirred through, so now I'm going to give it a taste. I may add some water as well because it's still a little thicker than I'd like, but Let me first just taste it and see if I need to adjust the seasoning. It actually needs a little bit more salt. I would also add a little bit more ketchup. So we're going to add probably another 1 to 2 tablespoons of ketchup. And then we will taste again. The first thing that you should taste when you give this a try is that peanut flavor. All right, I'm going to give it another try. The salt really helps to enhance just all the flavors. Adding that ketchup mayonnaise was a good call. Yeah, it's very good. But I am going to add just a little bit of water to this, probably about a 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup. All right, I have 1/2 cup of water here. I'm going to add half of that, so that's a 1/4 cup of water. Stir it through, see what the consistency is like, and if it's good, we're done. If it's still too thick, we can then add some more water. You don't want to add too much water and water down the flavors of the sauce, or then make the sauce so thin that you have to cook it down again, because that will alter the taste. So this is looking good. You can see it is incorporating a lot better now, so that was probably all the water I need. I added warm water just so that there isn't kind of this big drop in temperature when I added it, but if you don't have warm drinking water and you just want to add cold water, you can do that as well, but you'll have to wait a little bit for everything to come back to temperature. So yeah, this is looking good. I think we're where we need to be. So now I'm going to do what we did for the gado gado peanut sauce and just turn off the flame and then wait for some of that peanut oil to kind of sit on top, and then I'm going to skim it off so that we don't have too much oil in here. For the meatballs, you will need 500 grams of ground beef, 150 grams of shredded unsweetened coconut, 3 tablespoons of mayo, 8 macadamia nuts, because I can't find candle nuts, but if you can find candle nuts, use those instead. Some salt to taste, 3 tablespoons of ketchup mayonnaise, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1/8 of a teaspoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice, 3 teaspoons of ground coriander, 3 teaspoons of ground ginger, and 1 tablespoon of sambal oelek. Of course, we're not going to put whole macadamia nuts through the ground beef. We have to grate it first. So I'm going to use a microplane for that, but please be careful. It's not a speed competition. This thing is sharp and you don't want to hurt yourself. I do it over a plate so I can actually use more of the length of the microplane rather than having to do it over a bowl and just use like a small section of it. When you can no longer hold on to it, it's okay if you just don't grate that small piece that is left. We're down to our last macadamia nut. Make sure that you scrape off all the shavings that sit in the back of the microplane. Next part is very easy. You're going to put all the ingredients in a large bowl and with your hands mix it together so everything is distributed evenly, and you don't have like big clumps of coconut in one bowl and no coconut in the other. I'm going to start with my ground meat. And we're mixing it. This is pretty well combined right now. So now it's time to start shaping the balls. I have put on a fresh pair of gloves, and using a small ice cream scoop, I'm going to make small little balls and put them on this plate. So I'm shaping them into balls that are approximately 1.5 inches in diameter. That's 3 3/4 centimeters, and continue doing that until I have no more beef left. And these are of course shaped by hand, so if they are not all the same size or perfectly round, that's quite all right. They will still taste absolutely delicious. I'm just heating up the oil. Once it hits right at the smoke point, I'm going to add the meatballs to the pan and fry them so that they are browning on all the sides. And I'm gonna cook them until the internal temperature of the meatball hits 160 degrees Fahrenheit or 72 degrees Celsius. If you don't have a thermometer, you can also just break one open and see if it is fully cooked on the inside. Now that the oil is hot, I'm going to add the balls to the pan. So I've made 25 meatballs out of this recipe, and this pan is large enough for me to cook them all at once. However, if you don't have a large pan, you can also just cook them in batches. Try not to move the meatballs too much because you really want to get a nice crust on the outside and some caramelization. So let them sit and maybe peek at one of them, and if they look nice and brown, then start rotating them. I wish that YouTube had smell-o-vision because it is smelling so good in the kitchen right now. But if you make this yourself, then you too will smell it. Let me take a look. Not quite there yet. Okay, let's take a look again. I'm going to just rotate them, and I'm going to do that for all the meatballs. So as you can see, this side of the pot is clearly not as hot because these meatballs are not as brown as the other. So I'm going to move the pan on the stove a little bit so that that side gets a little bit warmer. I have browned the meatballs all around, so I'm going to lower the flame and put on the lid. And then continue cooking them. I will check the temperature from time to time, and when it hits the right temperature, they will be done. Time to try one of our Indonesian meatballs. Eet Smakelijk. Of course you get the beef. I can taste the ginger. There's a little bit of warmth from the sambal ulek. It is definitely not a spicy meatball. I can tell that there's onion and garlic in it. The shredded coconut definitely adds texture to the meatball. Let me try some with the peanut sauce. That goes really well together. The peanut sauce really complements the meatball. If you weren't watching, I'd have put this whole meatball in my mouth at once. I highly recommend that you make these. They're absolutely delicious. You can eat these at room temperature. You don't have to keep them warm. I do like the sauce to be slightly warm personally, but even the sauce will taste just fine at room temperature as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll post the written recipe on my website, toineskitchen.com, and you can follow me on social media as well. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.